Welcome to Chew the Chat Podcast.
I reckon Lincoln played quite a pivotal role, I think, in county lines. There was a case that happened here, and I think we're lads from Birmingham, and I think it was part of what happened with them, the law being changed where the kids were being classed as criminals when prosecuted to actually becoming the Modern Slavery Act and victims.
But that's what they're doing, isn't it? It's the same sort of thing. Are we live now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're recording, yeah.
Are you going to edit this or is this going in? Put this in. It's natural, isn't it?
The real deal. Chew the Chat.
Put a joker behind me. Sorry about that. Go on.
No, you're right. They're cool. Well, welcome to Chew the Chat, Darren. Darren Gee.
Thank you, mate.
Appreciate your time. For listeners of the podcast, you know, you've got a history. You know, you've been on a couple of podcasts recently that really exposed your story. You told a lot of your story with James English and Sean Atwood. Really interesting for listeners, viewers who are checking Darren out now here. I would suggest go and have a look at James English's podcast. 2 parts, I think he did, and then Sean's as well. I think there's about 5 or 6 hours between them, I think. Today on Chew the Chat, I wanted to do the same thing we do with most of our guests, which is find out about childhood, find out about the early years of life, the trajectory that gets set, the conditions, the environment, the love, you know, and what set you on the way.
What was my household like when I was a kid?
Yeah. What was the dynamics? And you got. I think you have 5 year brothers.
There was 5 of us growing up, yeah, with my mother. My dad worked in London. Dad was a rat. The environment was violent, hectic. No rest in the house. First up, best dressed. Fighting for the best pair of trainees. Not getting fed properly. Not getting washed properly. Not attending school properly. These are all things that affect your mind and affect your direction. Your environment is a big part of who you are and what you become later on in life. Whether your dad's a alcoholic or your mum's on the drugs, you've still got a purpose within yourself, and you'll always have that purpose, and you'll keep it. Doesn't matter what you're going through, you'll always have that purpose. If you lose that purpose, then you fall off track. Now, you might go to prison, you might be committing this crime, you might be mixing with this group of people, but deep down you know you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be doing these things, but you've just got to go with the flow because you're in that circle now. They take a lot of time up. You end up in this group becomes your family. This group are smoking weed, yeah, before you know, it's like a brotherhood. And you're just on this gang mentality thing then, and it sort of goes uphill for a bit, and then downhill for the rest of it.
So when you talk of your dad being away, he's working in London, what's he doing in London?
Being a roofer.
A roofer. So he's on building sites and stuff, and he's gone for long periods and stuff.
Yeah, he used to disappear for like 8 weeks, come back for 2 weeks, back away again.
So were your mum and dad married? But what's the order of your brothers? Are you second oldest?
Yeah, so you weren't married. You had Billy, me, Danny, Stephen, and Ian.
Right. And do you have any memories of your mum and dad? Were they happy memories? You got any memories of them being just a couple, just doing stuff, having new kids?
No.
Seaside?
There's always been drink. There's always been drink in the house, so one of them's always been too drunk. It is what it is. Anyone that's being raised by an alcoholic dad knows exactly what it's like for everyone in the house.
And he's working away. Is he making decent money? Have you lads? I know you're fighting for the trainers, but
he's making decent money, but we're not seeing it.
Right.
So if he was working in Liverpool, they'd work like all the roofers and all the builders from years ago when we were kids, like the early 90s, 80s, whatever. They used to all go to work, Friday night pub. You're on it. That was it. Work all week, drink all weekend. Work, drink. And that's the way it was.
So then when he comes home to you, but
he'd come home, he wouldn't have much money, there'd be a bit of an argument with him and my mother. My mum's been waiting for this money so she can feed us. Cool. He's coming home without it, there's an argument, he fucks off, goes and gets pissed, comes back drunk, and gives us all a hiding.
And that's just clockwork.
And that was continuous while we were kids, yeah.
So you don't have anything like a football match you played, or you come and
there's not one occasion where I can say I've been happy around my dad. Not one single day in my life have I been happy around my dad.
Do you speak to him to this day?
No, he's dead now.
Right. And were your brothers the same?
Yeah.
And what about your mum? How was your relationship with your mum? Did your mum?
Well, you know what it is with every mum. Some mums are bad. Some mums give you a slap. Some mums give you this. Some mums don't give you a slap until they fall into the fold of what your dad's doing. My ma tried her hardest to protect us every time and got a good hiding for it. That's what my ma was about. My ma would jump in front of us and protect us and get battered for it. So that's what my mum was about. Mm-hmm. Later on, when she been beat up too much and got conditioned, you call it domestic abuse now and violence and all that, but as time went on, the more beaten she got, the more drink she was consuming, and the more I don't give a fuck about you kids was coming out of her mouth. Yeah, so it is what it is with every woman. Men destroy women, just like women can destroy men, but it's more men destroying women.
So when in that period when your mum's fighting your corner and getting in the way, are you having moments where maybe, I don't know, you're in the bedroom, she's come sat on the bed where everybody's in tears, it's trauma, is she comforting you? Do you feel loved from your mum? Yeah. Always
did, mate. Always did. She mightn't have been able to feed us. She mightn't have been able to dress us. You know, she was a single parent basically with 5 kids that was running wild. So she done her best. She could have done better, stopped the drinking, bought food and all this, but you've got to understand, at that time, most women were getting a good hiding off the fella. Most women were getting a good hiding off the fella when we were kids. So, as you say, it's like times. Things that were acceptable 20 years ago are definitely not acceptable now. So, it changes with the times.
So, your mum obviously is just in this situation with your dad. This is going on for years. You get into your early teens. You're starting to become a young man. There's 5 of you boys. Are you boys ever sort of clubbing together and thinking, you know?
No, we were always apart. We were never together. For whatever reasons, my older brother mixed with a firm that didn't like us. So we was sort of, it was weird. It was mad when we were growing up. But what happened is I ended up in care, Danny ended up in care, Billy ended up down there with a family friend, Ian ended up down, we were just parted. There was no solidarity between us. The only people that had solidarity between them really was me and Danny. Why? Because we were in the system together. That's the only reason that we had that sort of...
So when you and Danny go in the system, and there's not, am I right in saying there's not even a year between you two?
It's 10 months.
10 months. So when you guys get put in the system, what, you know, how's your mum at that moment? Is she just too broken to even know what's happening? Is she beside herself?
She couldn't do nothing. When we got dragged into care, we were in I mentioned it in the other podcast, in a place called Lantry House. The people of that premises rang whoever, the police turned up to social care and we were took. My mum couldn't do nothing. She was scrapping with them to get us back, but we just...
Powerless.
Ripped apart, yeah.
And how does what are you then, 13, 14?
Yeah, around that age. Can't remember the right age.
Can you remember how that felt at the time on that day?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how I felt. Well, what would you feel like getting ripped away from your mum? It's not only that, they ripped me and Danny away. We're in the same car, scrapping. So they come in manhandle again and rip us apart again and take us in different vehicles. And then we land in Dyson Hall. It goes off again, then they separate us again. And then that's the last time I see Danny for like 2 years or something.
Fucking hell. I mean, yeah, that impact is just... And what about your dad at that point? Is he still around at that point?
No, he just
don't give a fuck.
He's just finished. He's just wherever he goes. We don't even see him now. He's just like a pisshead somewhere.
And you boys have been took away and put in...
We all ended up... I ended up in care. Everyone else ended up with different parts of the family. The two youngest stay with my mum, Ian and Stephen. Eventually, when I've left the care system, when I was old enough, 18, so I stayed back to my ma's.
And when you're in the care system, how do you adapt? How do you even come to terms with what's happened? And
you've just got to. You've got to. It's that environment. It's like if you've been bullied before, you don't want to be bullied again. So you've got to adapt, because them environments are full of bullies. And if you let a bully you once, them other bullies bully you as well. So you get bullied once or twice, then you fight back, and then once you've fought back in that environment, you've got sort of an enigma around you, some sort of, oh, you can fight, and you start to go on that flow. Why? Because you're not getting bullied no more.
Of course, yeah. It's power in a way, isn't it? You know,
well, that's all that environment is. The more violent you are in that environment, the more power you've got. It's not respect, it's fear.
And, you know, in that environment you talk of, in a children's home, I mean, you've got little humans, little developing little humans that were a blank canvas. They were just a
you know what it is,
bag
mate?
of potential.
You see it more and more now, like you're getting young people who are 12 and they're messing up a school a little bit. And what they do in school, they now force them to sit in boxes. So they've got classrooms in school now where kids will be put in them for 2 hours and it's a box against the wall. They can't turn around, they can't talk to no one. This is in mainstream schooling, mate. This is what they're doing these days to kids. Right?
I've been in one of them.
It's just, it is what it is, isn't it? So if you think about how they're doing that in society, in the school system, in front of all parents, it's all lawful. Tell me how they can get a 13-year-old kid, put him in this room where he can't talk to no one, he can't do nothing. It's like a cell. Because what? Because he's had no sleep in his house because his mum's on the crack and his energy levels are through the roof, so he can't behave in a class. You want to start isolating him straight away. You want to start conditioning his mind into solitary confinement sort of sense. That's what
Why are we missing the point then? What's happening? What's going wrong where, you know, you end up in a care home with a load of other 14-year-old kids who essentially were those bags of potential, those fresh-faced kids with a track in front of them, but missing love, missing security, missing bonds, missing just fucking something reasonably safe and solid. You all end up in that environment, and then you it's like you're missing the love, you just got fear, and then you turn on each other, you know, like the kids.
The only thing you've got growing up is your mum. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
The only person in your life, really, that is showing you any type of love is your mum. That's my opinion, mate. So when you come out your mum's womb, you put on a chest. When you put on a chest, you start developing energy between you. start intertwining. You start becoming, that's how you become close. The mum's love goes into the baby. That's what the mum starts loving. The baby feels it, starts, and you just become connected, right? So you're connected like that right through your life.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that's ever going to be standing by you right through your life is your mum, unless you don't want her to.
Mm.
Some people say they don't, some people say they do, but in my life, the only person I felt love from ever was me mum.
Even with your brothers, even though your brothers were in that same boat and you were experiencing awful things together, didn't you? Was there not a bond for you boys?
Yeah, it created the bond, but it weren't a loving bond.
Sort of a safety.
I don't know how to explain it.
Mm.
You just love your brother naturally, don't you?
Mm.
Some rats don't these days. You know, they'll put the brother out to hang for the mates. You know what I mean? But the bond I had with Danny was more. It was like when we're together, the force and like the shield around us, like the energy field. It's just like because
safe
of
for you as well. Feels safe.
Yeah, we just feel empowered. We feel like nothing can touch us now because that's how our bond was developed. Our bond was developed getting whipped with belts inside the beds and screaming for help, and the only person we could help was each other. So that's where our bond come from. Not an breaker.
That trauma's imprinted deep.
Yeah, but it's not nice getting tied to a bed and whipped for coming in half an hour late. And that's what was going on with me and Danny. None of the other kids suffered this, just me and Daniel, you know. So it is what it is, mate. It was a messy childhood. We got raised by a nasty man, and it's all about your guidance. It's all about who's raising you. It's all about who's giving you what and who's doing this or whatever. If you haven't got that, you're going to fail. So you've got girls now without the dad playing a part for the child. And, you know, you've only got to look at the figures. It's fucking hard for this kid to get anywhere in life without his dad present. Or his mum. That guidance, that missing, it just sets
balance,
you off track.
the balance of it.
It's all about the balance, yeah.
You know, and a big part of, you know, well, the overarching thing you're pushing at the moment is your message, which is choose a life, not a knife, which is you experiencing this life, knowing what that path is, trying to help young people see there's choices to make, you know. What I feel like, which is what you're touching on there, when I look across society, which is so difficult to try and come up with a solution, is like the kids are one thing, but these family units that you're talking of, that, you know, I don't know if it's the case now, but I know that I think England we had the highest rate of teenage pregnancies in the world. I mean, a little island like us. I don't know if it's still the case now. You might be able to drag something up, Aidan. But those kids that have babies having babies, that isn't a foundation that's you can build from. It's not going to work out, is it?
No.
And now you've got, you know, 3 little kids with a mum who's 18, a dad who's gone, mum's struggling. That pattern repeats, it gains momentum. And then them kids grow up, and each generation it becomes less and less, we're desensitised. It's more and more normal, and it's less and less, you know, chance that you're going to be in something just balanced, just mum and dad together, just that. Not rich holidays and, you know, just together.
But collectively, it's not our fault. Collectively, it's not our fault. It's not our fault that the country's fallen to pieces. It's not our fault that our communities have been destroyed. It's not our fault that we've been ripped to pieces. It's not our fault that the motto that the government used to use, family unity, keep families together, they're not using it no more. They're deliberately destroying families up and down the country. It's not me just jumping at something. It's fact. If you look at every community up and down our country, it's being destroyed. And I'm going to bring in the foreign influx. And I'm not racist and I'm not discriminating. I'm pointing out a valid fact. Tony Blair let a lot of foreign people in, dispersed them up and down the country, put them into communities that they will not settle in. And what you're seeing now is the repercussions of it. It's as simple as that. All these foreign people, whether they're good, bad or ugly, they've got children with them. They're coming into this country. As soon as you've got children in this country, you're entitled to a house. Bam. They're jumping up lists. They're taking houses. They're taking houses in communities where people from this country, from the city of Liverpool, have lived 40 years. Their daughter has asked for that house down the street and has been waiting for 9 months for the decision. All of a sudden, a foreigner's come in with kids. They've gone straight into the house. They don't relate to anyone in the street. They don't participate in any community projects. They isolate themselves. Why? Because they don't like our culture. They just like the money. What that's doing, it's defranchising communities. It's like neighbours aren't talking to neighbours no more like they used to. Neighbours can go in, neighbours have a cup of tea, help them out, do the kids, do all that neighbourly loving stuff, love thy neighbour. It's gone on purpose. When I said before, collectively, it's not our fault. We can only flourish in an environment. And in this country, we're given an environment on purpose. And for the past 20 years, we've been given an environment that's there to destroy us and stop us from progressing as individuals, as communities, as families. None of us doing it. There's family breakdown up and down the land. As you said just then, we've got the highest rate of single girls having babies underage. We've got kids having kids. It's just messy. You can't do nothing if you've got a 15-year-old kid raising a 1-year-old kid. They've got no life experience. The government aren't helping them. The government aren't stopping it. What are the government doing? They're promoting homosexuality. Doesn't mean I don't like people who are gay. It doesn't mean, but it's a valid point. For the past 20 years, they've started having men kissing men on the telly. It was shocking when I first seen it. Whoa, turn that off. Turn over. Now you turn over, there's a gay man on every channel kissing. What this is doing, it's giving the children an image that it's okay for a man to kiss a man. Now loads of people are out there saying, but it is okay for a man to kiss a man. But with my beliefs, it's not. With my beliefs, it's not okay for a man to get in bed with a man. In my case, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Right, so why is the government deliberately promoting that sort of behaviour to our children?
And you feel like it is deliberate, Darren?
It's deliberate. It's deliberate. We don't know the answers. We can start assuming answers. It could be mull the population. Why? Because men and men can't have kids. Women can't have kids. What they can do, they can have a thing and design the baby. It's probably what the government wants. But the bottom life is, man is for woman so we can procreate life. You can't do that when it's man on man. It just doesn't work. I'm not hating on the gays, but what I'm trying to indicate is what the government are doing and deliberately do. They're putting ideas into children's minds visually, through sweets, through play, through everything. They're getting all this same sort of thing that sex is fine. By the time they're 13, they're watching porn. By accident at 10, they're watching porn. The government know they're watching it by accident. They don't do nothing. They promote it everywhere. 20 years ago, you got the Spice Girls. Have you heard some of the lyrics?
Yeah.
This is all aimed at the kids. All of it. And what you're seeing now is you're seeing mums with 8-year-old kids. The 8-year-old kid's dressed like she's 16.
Yeah, that's worrying. That's puzzling.
Right? I know of girls who are 15, putting makeup on, getting dressed, and going into clubs like they're 21, and they're hanging around with 22-year-old girls. It's not going to be nice. The mums don't even know they're doing it. All the mums knows is they're staying in the mates for the weekend or of a Friday. They're in town getting treated like adult women by adult men.
So when I look at that and I see that in culture, I see the sexualization of children, I see the acceleration of children. We're like accelerating children past that magic bit, you know? You're meant to be downloading what it is to be a human, playing, learning.
It's took away.
Yeah, we've gone past it, and you got little boys who are 7, 8 who want to know, is that a Henry Lloyd jumper? How much was your jumper? And girls who are, like you say, frighteningly sexualized. What I wonder about it is, for me, when I ruminate on these ideas, I think, is it economics? Is it money? Is it power? Is it something darker? Because why do we sexualize? Everything's sold with sex, isn't it? You know, they sell you everything through sex. Marketers and advertisers have done it from all time. Why, with kids, you mentioned the sugar as well, you know, we're giving kids sugar that's fucking sending them mad. We're disguising it in their food. You know, here's a fruit shoot, it's full of vitamin C. This is actually one of your 5 a day, which I think they're still saying these days. Full of sugar. It's wiring them. Yeah, they've got their iPads. We're putting screens in our kids' hands that, like you say, by accident they're coming across this, that, or the other. Even if they're not coming across that, they're just being hypnotized by this lack of this. Playing with each other in the street, playing Kirby on the street, riding your bike with your mate, being in the field all day, learning what it is to be a human.
You just hit the nail on the head there, learning what it is to be a human. Look, if you go to school, you're not learning. People think I'm mad when I say that, but you're not learning, you're taught. You're taught. Now, if you get an iPad off Apple, which is an American device, you're not learning, you're being taught indirectly. Why? Because you're visualising what they want you to see. So if you put that iPad in front of your kid, most mums will tell you now, the kids aren't watching it from there. They're like this. They're like that, watching it. Some mums are going, hey. The kid's not even listening to them.
Yeah, not even in the room.
They're not even there. They're that tranced on this. That is indoctrinating your child into a way of life, whether you like it or not. It's indoctrinating on mass children, and that's the way they've been doing it for years. They've done it with us. Look, we're at artificial intelligence now. Us normal people are. You see the powers they've had it for 10 years.
Yeah, at least.
Right. Hollywood movies is becoming very relevant now for how they've been behaving over the whatever. They've always been part of the system which conditions the masses. And what do I mean by that? They've made films, and you can watch RoboCop 1 when that first came out. 92 something.
Maybe a bit before, maybe.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But you understand where I'm coming on.
Watching that, yeah.
RoboCop is a visual of artificial intelligence in humans.
Yeah.
This is 20 years ago, 25 years ago that these are doing this, right? Are you telling me they haven't done nothing in the last 30 years? What they've done is they've conditioned us. So you had RoboCop 1. Oh, there's a man-machine. RoboCop 2. There's another one. RoboCop 3, RoboCop 4, RoboCop 5. In the children's minds, they're used to seeing artificial men, half-brain, metal, whatever. So when it happens, they're already desensitised to the shock.
So do you think, Darren, that's contrived then? That's a contrived way because when I think about that, I think about, is it not from a creative point of view? I've been in bands and stuff, and when you're creating something, when you're writing something, you're imagining a scenario, you're imagining something. Film writers, script writers, whoever's coming up with RoboCop, Terminator, whatever it is, we're visualising what will the future look like, you know, and then we make the film, and then someone runs with that idea. Is it a case of us, everything we imagine, everything that we collect, you said the term collectively, everything we imagine and we portray it in art or film or music or whatever, rightly or wrongly, good intention, bad intention, is almost like that's what we manifest into reality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you've ever done psychedelics and you tell somebody who hasn't done them and you tell them maybe you've seen some stuff and they can't get their head around it. But
Well, I've never done psychedelics.
Right, well,
so,
yeah, listeners to this podcast.
but what you said there, it is what it is, though.
Right.
You're right. It's creative on their part, but it's to give off a certain meaning to us, slowly, not in your face. Yeah, what would you do now if loads of things come out the roof? I mean, out the ceiling.
In here?
I mean, the skies. What would you do if loads of things just start to come out the skies?
Well, like drones and stuff.
Whatever.
I'd be freaked out, yeah.
Right. Everyone would be freaked out. So what they've been doing for what? Past 10 years? What's all the major films been about?
Yeah, space invaders and who knows
Right,
what.
because what's coming in the future?
So again, that's where I get caught up. Is it conspiratorial in the sense that, you know, there's a cabal, there's a power source, or is it us? Is this what we do? Do we manifest this? Is our art kind of is it us bringing out our thoughts onto the page, onto the screen, and then we are indoctrinating ourselves? I don't know if it's that or if it's being directed in some way. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, my opinion's this, mate. They're putting something in place and they don't want the rebellion. And how do you not get a rebellion? You've got to control the masses. How do you control them? In any way you can. And what they've been doing is, since this period, they've broke families even more. This coronavirus, they've broke families down even more. They've isolated people even more. They've made us more segregated. They've made us not communicating as much.
Yep.
You can't speak to people at the till in some shops and that. They've done it all on purpose because what they don't want. Imagine the city of Liverpool said, fuck the government, fuck the masks, we're doing what we want, we're going back to normal. Imagine they done that. Right? That's unity. That's unity right there. Now, if it went off, the city of Liverpool would be together, they'd be united, and would be a stronger force. Right? Liverpool would be trouble. Whereas Manchester never said, fuck the government. We'll keep our mask on. We'll do everything we're doing. We'll wash our hands 100 times a day. We won't speak. Look how you're running around. Look there's been a few deaths through this virus, but look how yous are conducting yourselves. Look. You won't go there, you won't go here, you won't touch this, you won't do. They've got you by the balls. That is ripping us to pieces. It's ripping us to pieces. Why? Because something's coming. Something big is coming. They call it the awakening. It is what it is. Something big coming and they're preparing for it. And the last thing they want is just say 5 million people united in this country. They can't have it. Why? Because it'll get run out. They'd get run out of office. With whatever's coming, something's big coming. I don't know what it is, but something is coming. And when it comes, it's going to cause a lot of commotion and uproar within this country. And when that does come, they don't want us tight and together. They don't want us ready. They don't want us all bum. So what you're seeing now, they're pitting us against each other. Cultures v cultures, religion against religion, colour against colour. It's all purposely done to keep us apart so we're not unified. So when the crunch does come to the crunch, there's no force there because we're all over the place.
So when you say they,
the powers that be.
What, like media?
Ignore that fat knobhead Boris Johnson. Ignore all these daft people that are sitting up there. You can see how insecure they are about their own lives when they're sat in that parliament giving speeches about stuff that's written on a piece of paper. They don't even know what they're speaking about no more.
Someone else has
It's written by
yeah.
some kid down there and put in front of them. They speak shit to all of us, and they have been for most of our lives. Use kids that are 18, 20, 25. You've been getting lied to since you come out your mum's womb. And it's all starting to come out now. Why? Because the truth always prevails. And what you're seeing now is the whole political structure about to fall. That's my opinion. Why? Because it's full of nonsense.
So we're definitely in a time, COVID, natural disasters, digital speed, culture just going at a fucking 1,000 miles an hour, kids on phones, we've touched on it there, you know, broken families more than ever. We've got county lines, we've got kids being groomed in drug dealing, not just in other dark, nefarious things.
Look, can I just jump in there, mate? There's this thing going on in Liverpool, right? Now, Liverpool's messed up, mate. You've got notorious gangsters who say they're straight but they're gay. These are millionaires. So they've got a wife, they've got a kids. To everyone, they're straight members. They're not gay, but they're gay. Now, within the criminal fraternity in Liverpool, you've got a hidden gay community. Some are out there like the Lynches and that, but the rest of them are hidden. And they're the dirty ones, like. They're the ones that are getting young gay lads and absolutely using and abusing them. I can name them now, but I'm not going to because I'm just getting everything in before I expose the law. Sam Walker's on it. Sam Walker gets into lads' minds, gets them this, gets them that, and then they're fished off into a little nasty group of madness, like. And loads of people attend these little places, and in these little places you'll have 2 or 3 of these victims. You're on it, drugged up, and they're just getting used and abused, and they're filmed, and they're too ashamed. And when they start wanting to reveal the shit, they get mentioned about the film. We'll show people this, and we've got you in this position, we've got you this with this up your bum. You know, all this mad stuff. So these kids are trapped. This is going on, this is drug dealers in Liverpool city centre. Well, the city of Liverpool.
That's just...
Right, but that's drug dealers, that's the criminal fraternity, right? They get away with it, and have been for years, decades. And the police don't do nothing, and the council don't do nothing, and there's reasons why they don't do nothing, and it's going to get messy. Every part of the country is going to become awoke to what's been happening. We've had parts of it over the last couple of years in Yorkshire, where you've had all these Muslim men raping young white girls because, you know, it's like a badge of honour. In some areas of Islam, it's like a badge of honour, or cultures, let's say, not Islam, cultures. But they're getting exposed when the white people aren't. The Muslim fraternity's getting exposed for their faults, but the Christian fraternity isn't, unless it's the church. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, there is groups of white men in this country deliberately grooming and abusing girls and boys. The police know it, and they're not doing shit.
People in positions of power.
Everything.
On every level.
Every level, are. Me, I'm asked about Liverpool, and what the information I'm getting back about grooming is, it's more fucking high-ranking drug dealers and criminals that are doing the fucking nonsense than anyone else. It starts with them. It doesn't matter how far up the chain till they go to these nonsense in Parliament and all that. It all starts on the streets with these rats in every city. Every city. The grooming, you just don't get a politician coming in and going, gives them 50 kids there. They've got links on the streets, And these little rats on the streets are getting kids into this fold, getting them into this little cycle, and off they go. And it's happening all the time. I can't stand nonsense. Where
do you begin to try and do anything about that in the way of...
There's only one way you can fight this shit, this poison. And there's only one way you're ever going to do it as a parent. And that is not let your kids out your sight. Even with a nurse. Even when you're taking them to the hospital for needles, I'd question every fucking needle they get from birth. Every single needle from birth I'd question if I was a parent. I wouldn't put them into school because they're getting indoctrinated into something. They're getting indoctrinated into a certain way of life. But that's just me if I had kids.
Right. So
the only way you can do it, the only way you're going to stop this in the future is by protecting the future. We've got no future without the children. You haven't got a future without your kid. If you never had your kids now, what would you be doing?
Who knows?
Exactly. You've got your kids, you've got a future, you've got drive, you've got boom. What are you going to do if that future's being hurt and you don't know about it? What are you going to do when she grows up to 16 and all of a sudden your nan's mate's being nonsense her because she was at your nan's every weekend? What are you going to do if she grows up and go, oh, that teacher was nonsense me? Oh, mum, you used to take me to that community centre and I didn't want to go, but you'd always used to, and I got nonce there. Why do you want to put your kids at that risk? Why do you want your kids innocent taken by a fucking monster just because you can't be asked? Do you understand what I mean?
I do, yeah, and it's scary because half of me feels like when you say they, the system, the culture, the collective, you know, by isolating our kids, by not having our kids, by fearing so much for your kids in that way. Because I try and think, Darren,
look,
has it always been a case that there's been fucking this, you know, since Jimmy Savile and all this stuff, like, and obviously the Epstein thing and the talk of paedophilia and all that in these last couple of decades, has it always been the case? When in the 70s, when we used to leave the doors open and play out all day, was it the same level of paedophilia happening, or are we talking about it more? Has something changed? What's happened?
It's spread.
Has it always been this way?
It's spread. So look, if we're in a city and you've got a group, just let's say City of Liverpool, you've got loads of different groups. The Whitneys start nonsense. For a few years, they're nonsense. Before you know it, other little groups around them are going to start nonsense. And it just spreads. It's poison. Like a disease, isn't it? Do you understand what I mean, though? And that the only way you can stop it, really, they're trying to make out now that they're medically impaired or they're not all together in the brain. But nonsense come from every background, bro. They come from, there's barristers who are nonsense. Or all of a sudden they mentally impaired now because they're being caught. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't start saying that a barrister who's been earning £100,000 a year all of a sudden's got something wrong with his head because he's being nicked. But that's just what they're doing. The only way you can stop this shit is anyone caught, severely punished. You don't give them 18 months for abusing a girl for 16 years. It doesn't make sense, mate, does it? Now, before the kids, I've seen kids go to the mums crying, fuck off, get away, get over there, get the phone, get over there.
That's awful, heartbreaking.
Mom, get over there, I'm doing something, get over there, oh, in a minute, But all that's doing to your child is when she really needs you, she's not even coming near you because she knows the response she's getting. You know what I mean? When she needs to tell you about this man that's playing with her private parts, she's shit scared to, because every time she's approaching you, all she's getting is, in a minute, I'm doing something, get the phone, get over there. That is not good for your child, because they've got no one to turn to. And when they do start turning to someone, it's normally a fucking monster. You know what I mean? And it's standard, and it's more regular than you think. It's right across the board, mate. I've been nonced, or I stopped myself getting nonced. You know what I mean? I'm a 13-year-old kid when I'm getting nonced with a policeman involved. My dad's involved. You want it? So the people in power who are meant to be there for you to trust are abusing kids. You've got judges who've been abusing kids for years in the city of Liverpool, You don't need fact, it's there. Who know of nonsense in the police force, who they've probably had a drink with, who know of nonsense in the solicitors' rooms, who know of nonsense in the jail. It's just all dirty, mate.
Do you
It's
think...
like, look, you see in the prison system now, have you ever heard of a gang rape in the prison, in the British prison system, in the news?
No.
Have you ever heard of a young man of 15 getting raped by 3 men in Woodhill prison?
No.
I have. I was in Woodhill prison when a 15-year-old kid got gang raped by 3 nonces on a wing. It's happening all the time. You don't hear of it. You're not hearing of all these kids who have been nonced by people in power, end up with their heads gone, end up committing crime, end up into the YP system, end up into the prison system, then fucking hanging themselves. No one's highlighting this when it's someone in power, someone in a position of trust who's ripped them off the mark, a social service, a fucking policeman. These people ripping them away from families, abusing them, twatting their head. They go into a system, they're finished. At the end of that system, they can't even tell you because they're that fucked.
How did we get to that? How have we cultivated this?
We haven't. We haven't. And that's what you need to relate to, and people on our floor need to relate to. We have not done none of this to us. We have not created all these nonsense. We have not created all this violence on our streets. We haven't created the overpacked schools, the overpacked hospitals, the overpacked population, no community centres, no police, drugs all over the place. We have not created this. They have. And when the people on the street start relating to what the fuck I'm saying about them, they're creating this atmosphere for us. They give us the environment to flourish or burn, and for the past 20 years they've been giving us it to burn. Simple as that.
And how have we ended up taking that turn then? Or has it not always felt that way? Power corrupts. Power corrupts.
It's a materialistic world. A fine example of this is look, you've got too much luxury in society for anyone to rebel. You've got the minority who rebel because they're not materialistic and they don't give a fuck. But the majority of the country have got nice houses, they've got nice cars, they've got this, they've got that. They don't really want any of the trouble.
Comfortable, yeah.
Comfortable. Too comfortable. A prime example is out of control, yeah. In prison, just say with YPs, no televisions anywhere. Everyone's reading books. Everyone's going to the library 3 times a week, getting a book, educating themselves in a cell, becoming literate and educated and knowledgeable in whatever. The prison service bring tellies in. Yeah. Straight away. So a screw is battering a kid there before the tellies were there. 4 or 5 mates to be protecting that other inmate against this screw who's brutally battering them. The telly's in, it's no solidarity. The kid's just getting battered, 4 prisoners are watching them. You're on it? That's what the telly done. It's like...
Wow, I didn't think of it like that ever.
Right, but what it's also done as well as this, all them prisoners that was reading books like me, educating themselves, becoming philosophical, if you like, you know,
yeah,
doing good with the time. All of a sudden, you've got a telly. So you'd come in off the street like me, couldn't read and write. I learned to read and write in prison by myself through books.
Reading
books. So what they've done is brought tellies in. Now, kids that are going into the system who can't read and write, 10 years before, they would have got out the other side being able to read and write letters. Now, they get out not reading and writing because they're stuck to a fucking telly.
Which is programming a whole fucking other load of...
It's just finishing them off. Jail's meant to be going into jail to educate your mind, to further your knowledge so you can secure employment and better your life on release. I tell you, numbs it. If you go and do the facts now, if you can try and look them up and do a little bit of looking and see what the percentage of people in prison who cannot read and write is, I'll tell you it's massive. Because of the telly. The telly was brought in not as a luxury. The telly was brought in as control. Exactly the way it's used in society now.
I was just about to say, it feels like that.
Now, what they do in prison is they test case in prison most things that go on outside. Medication, crowd control. Like even this virus. You know when the adges go in the shops and you can only go in and buy 1 and 2 items? That was happening in prison 15 years ago. You know, it's like they were test casing how to control crowds in masses within the system. They run all sorts of tests in the system, psychological tests on groups, without us even knowing it, mate. You know what I mean? They'll get individuals in prison and put them through hell for 12 weeks on purpose, just as some psychological test, what no one knows about, just certain people know about. They want to see how people react to this way of treatment and da-da-da-da. It's all happening in the prison system, like guinea pigs. The prison system, all of a sudden, I can remember being in Hull. There's kids not on drugs. They've gone to the gym, they've hurt the back. Used to be getting co-hodimo. For some mad reason, the government changed it all and started giving anyone with pain methadone.
Right. That seems...
I go to the doctor, my back's broke off the gym. Okay, I'll put you on 7 mil of methadone every day for the next 2 weeks. What's that going to do?
And it's straightforward, like, obviously,
what's
straightforward as that.
Straightforward as that. That was in Hull. What's that going to do? It's just going to create addictions, right? Because it is what it is.
Zombies.
It is what it is, like. The kids tell you what's happening in the future. So most of the kids that are running around now, coming out of their mouth is zombies. Zombies, 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 zombies. Because that's what they're getting pushed into their minds by the televisions and all this. And if you look on the streets, you've got zombies. Basically, you've got zombies. There's some parts of the UK where you can, and in Scotland, where you can cruise down the road and they're all like this.
Yeah.
Like zombies. You know, it is what it is. This is what's coming. We're all in the environment, so we can't really recognise it. But you know, if you stood out of this like I did for 10 years and then come back into it and just have a look round, you've got humans sat there outside the shop bumming off kids. You've got kids giving the dinner money to fucking men. You've got fucking people walking around like that with no teeth. You've got people walking around with no legs on fucking sticks. It is what it is, man. Society's finished and it's all to do with drugs. I don't know why I've just got back on drugs, but if you look around, all these zombies created is from drugs. All these kids who were on the game at 18, it's because they got a coke habit when they were 16 or 15. It's drugs, you're on it.
And it's growing up in a generation before, I think, what was it, 1970, when I think Nixon declared the war on drugs, 1970. And if you look at the generations through however long it's been now, it just seems like each generation, there's something about the oppression. There's some, because when you think about it, and we spoke about this earlier a little bit, you know, alcohol, for instance, got a barcode on it. You can buy it pretty much anywhere, consume it. Some of the most terrible things that'll ever happen because of that drug in particular. We don't think of it as a drug. It's alcohol. It's legal. It's got a barcode. I bought it in the shop.
It's a stimulant.
Marijuana, or fill in the blank, different substance. A plant grows on the earth. Demonized it, you know. We've suppressed it. We've created a whole underworld of just madness and murder and chaos, and each generation just becomes more and more broken and fractured than the last. And that first generation that were criminalized and locked up because, you know, your dad was a window cleaner.
When you're saying there, them generations become fucked, and the next generations, whose generations, mate? Whose generations of kids are getting fucked? Whose generations of families are being fucked over? Whose generations and communities are being fucked over for decades? It's not theirs. Look,
by that, you mean the established?
I don't know who the fuck they are, but listen to what I say. This is what I say about it. in this way of life, you've got two levels. You've got two types of human. You've got our breed and then you've got the pure breed. What do you mean by the pure breed? Let me tell you what I mean by a pure breed. A pure breed is getting brought into this world from a womb. As soon as it's out the womb, the fresh air it's breathing in is perfect. The sleep it's getting is perfect. There's no smoke off drugs in the air. There's no violence. There's no nasty pollution because they live in big country houses. That environment is created for the power base of this country. They get the best education, they get the best nutrition, they get the best sleeping pattern, they get the best care and love and nurture. They're given the best environment to flourish in. That's the pure breed. And then you've got us. If you're born into our environment, you're coming out of your mum's womb. Straight away, you're surrounded by pollution and drugs in the air, smoke, whatever. You're brought into violence. By the time you're 3 or 4, you've witnessed a murder outside your school. Your mum's arguing with the neighbour. They're screaming at each other down there. You've got a few foreigners down there who don't give a shit about anyone. This is an environment we're brought into. We're pure when we're born. By the time you're 5, you're getting fucking dirty. By the time you get to 20, you're fucking scruffy. Do you understand what I mean by that?
I do, yeah.
So, we will never get to a level of power unless we look after our kids. Our kids are getting destroyed by them. Why? Because they know the only way our future's going to be powerful is if our kids are in the right environment, getting raised with the right nutrition, getting raised with the right people who are showing them the right stuff, exactly what the pure breed get. And they're doing all they can to stop us. Our kids... Let's have a look. How many kids are in prison?
How many kids are in prison in the UK?
Exactly. How many of our kids have been raped? How many of our kids have been cut? How many of our kids have been murdered? How many of this? How many of that? How many of that? And then ask how many of this.
What I always find difficult about that idea, though, is that their kids ultimately have to live in a world, you know, with the blue-collar, normal folk, let's call them. You know, it might be that you're at Booper, it might be you're at your private school, it might be, but in the end, the collective energy, the world we've got to share, we're all in it. It never makes sense to me that.
It does make sense because when you strip it all away and strip all the bullshit, it all comes down to this. In this world, you've got good people and you've got bad people, and that's it. And at the moment, bad people are outweighing the good. And that's what you're seeing.
What's the desires? What are the desires? Is it just power? Has it always been power? Is it money? Is it money and power?
It's money. There's a reason it's called the root of all evil. There's a valid reason why money is called the root of all evil.
So when we're trying to rebuild, as you are with your message, choose a life, not a knife, how the fuck do you convince kids who have been... Look round at the mum and dad smacking each other around the kitchen, you know, dodge plates, I don't know, watch the mum jack up, been just belittled and just felt fucking lonely and lost and broken. How do you convince them kids to not be swayed by the culture, by the music, by the bling, by the fucking lifestyle, which kind of wears that on its sleeve in a way? That's what's celebrated, isn't it? Is push back, fight back, you know, finding your gang, finding your place, dominating somebody or an area or something, the money coming in, the feeling of power that comes with that. How do you fucking convince a kid who just hasn't got love in his life, hasn't got balance, hasn't got...
You give him love. Yeah. You give him balance. The only way you can give him love and give him that balance is if you've got the assets and the money and the finances to give him that love and that care. The government know what they fucking caused years ago. They know exactly what drugs have done. They know exactly that there's thousands of families up and down this country where the mum and dad have got addictions, and the kids coming into that family know quite well these kids are going to come with addictions, and they know quite well in 15, 20 years' time they're going to be on their books It is what it is. If you look at the bigger picture and look at a business, and if you start a business, it's this small, and as you get bigger, you start learning new ways how to make it more secure, more tighter, get more benefits out of it. Now, if you look at this country as a business set up by a firm of gangsters 200 years ago, and it starts in a little house in London, before you know they've got a parliament, before you all this shit just goes into line with it. So they know when there's 10,000 kids in the city of Liverpool without a mum. They know all this, and they need it. I said to you earlier on, what they've done in this country over the last whatever many years is what they've done. They've aligned, they've sort of aligned the justice system with the financial system. What do I mean by that? See, we'll put it this way. If you took the justice system out of this country, it wouldn't run financially, because they've built the prison service, the probation service, all them that branch off the same justice shout. They've built them up that much that if they went, the country would fall. Look how many they employ, how many prison officers, how many families they hold up on them jobs, everything, probation, courts, cells, prisons, all that. Look how many people they employ, right? Now look how many people are being incarcerated now compared to what they was 10 years ago. And there's a reason for that. Why? Because it's a business now.
Big business with big momentum.
They need, it's like, if you've got 100 people there eating chicken, you need the chicken to keep coming. You can't let it run out because they stop eating chicken. Now, if you haven't got kids entering the system like we did years ago, going into kids' care homes, going into social services shit, going into all that, they wouldn't have jobs. None of them. There'd be no Dyson Hall, there'd be no strawberry fields, there'd be none of this, there'd be none of that. It wouldn't exist. But it exists, and to keep them jobs going, they need to create new customers. So that's what you're seeing. Let's close all these community centres down. Let's build more prisons. That's all they're doing. And all they're doing is they'll probably start recruiting more screws in 4 years' time.
Who is making decisions like this? Is what I struggle with all the time when I try and visualise. Okay, yeah, things seem to always align with where the most money is and the least honour tends to be. When that's on a commercial level, when it's on a state level, when it's on we talk about the prison system, we talk about the war on drugs. At some point somewhere, human beings are sat around a table and they have to make decisions and they have to say, look, what's going to be the right thing to do? What's the best thing to do here? And all I can imagine is they just must look at the numbers and someone presents, fucking this revenue over the next 5 years, blah, blah, blah. And then people must just have like a diminished responsibility. Like, we're part of a group making this decision, so it's not on me. We're not attached to it. The damage, we don't see it. But at this point in culture, we can't avoid it. It's everywhere. We're broken, aren't we?
We're not broken. We're not broken.
I feel like young people's chance at the minute is harder than ever.
It is at the moment, but what's going on right now, this is people becoming awoke.
Coming around to it.
It is what it is. We're recognising that used rats have been damaging us for so long. We're not taking it. They're recognising that we're recognising it, and they're putting things in place now to stop it happening. Lockdown, masks, all this mad stuff that's gone on in the last few months. It's to take our minds off what's really going on behind the scenes. And the bottom line is this. I'm a religious person, and I believe that there is a devil, and I believe that there's Satan. And what I'm hearing about all these satanic rituals that all these top politicians and celebrities have been participating in, abusing kids, this is what's happening now. This is the real fight between good and bad, what's going on right now. It hasn't climaxed yet, but you're seeing it. Everyone in the world seeing it. Everyone's feeling the tension. Everyone's feeling something's happening. You need to keep the positive energy coming from you, because what's coming is a good thing. What is coming to the world is a good thing. Loads of people may die, and this might happen and that might happen, but it's a good thing what's coming. I don't know what it is. I've been saying for months, I can feel something great coming. I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling it, and I'm waiting for it to come.
Well, I like hearing that, because, you know, the combination of, you touched on it there, COVID, I mean, we've been spun out to such a degree. I mean, I don't think it's always after the fact when you look back at something where you can start to maybe try and unpick it a bit and think, what the fuck happened there? And we've been doing podcasts throughout COVID. In the lockdown, my brothers at the time came on. You know, the studio's isolated on its own, so we were cool. We were done our quarantine, so we carried on doing podcasts. And I'm really pleased, because we covered it, and we spoke openly and honestly and vulnerably about what the fuck's happening. And in however long in the future, we're going to look back at it and go, what the fuck was happening? And then when we talk about the new normal, it's difficult to, when you think about the nefarious, as you're pointing out, the darker elements of why things happen sometimes, why power needs to maintain its momentum, its pattern, its stronghold. It's difficult to, you know, it's difficult to let yourself think, fuck me, is that how it is? You don't want to, you're scared, you don't want to think that things are as dark as that. And we put it off and we sort of carry on. But I think in this COVID, this time, it's, everybody is spun out to the point where I don't think anybody, it feels like to me anyway, in the circles I move in, even the people that are quite conservative and quite sort of upstanding about it and taking it seriously and maybe didn't look between the lines or look, you know, just felt like, no, this is, I'm getting a vibe from them even now, like, this is confusing. Yeah, there's a virus and some people have got the virus and some people have died and stuff, but like, this seems fucking really weird.
That's what it's designed to do, confuse.
Yeah.
And while everyone's confused, they're not concentrating on anything else. They're just confused about what the fuck.
Moving further away.
People who used to go out every single day, all of a sudden, were not going out. Do you know what mental damage that does to you?
Yeah, it's a massive.
And the government know this. They know the impact it's going to have on your mental health. They know the impact it's going to have on your stress levels. They know the impact it's going to have in your family home with domestic violence. They know it all. They knew exactly the repercussions of what they were doing. They knew when we say we're going to do a lockdown, they knew all these things were going to heighten violence towards each other, everyone hating on each other, everyone hating.
Just confusion.
They know it.
Yeah.
They want that to happen. That all stems back to unity. You need unity right now, because that's what they don't want you to have. They don't want us to be unified. They don't want us to be together. We're stronger together. If the city of Liverpool stood up and went, you know what, we're not having this off yous cunts. You've been changing laws every 2 months to suit your needs. You've been shuffling money, all your politicians spending money. Now you're being nonsense. Now you're being doing this. It's fucking evident. I know everyone has been saying to themselves, how can a nonce get 2 years for raping that kid 70 times when that armed robber can get 15 years for doing one robbery? It's fucking obvious why. It's saturated with nonsense right through the system. It's going to come out. How are they going to do it? They're just ripping us to pieces so we can't fight as one. So
with the Epstein thing then, which is the most high profile paedophilia conversation that's probably ever been had, I would imagine, at this point, that I can remember in my lifetime anyway. There's monarchs involved in that. Is this going to unravel something? This is
all part of the process, mate. This is what I was saying to you before. This is part of the awakening. I don't know why I'm latching onto this word. I've just seen it somewhere over my years when I've been reading. But
it's a feeling though, as well as a word, though. I've got this feeling.
I don't know how other people feel, but I'm guessing the certain people who are on my sort of energy flow, who are on my sort of mindset, who are getting this feeling of pure, it's like an excited anticipation. It's not a worried one, it's an excited anticipation, because we know what's coming And we've been waiting for this. I don't know how long we've been waiting for it. But there's people like me, there's humans like me, with my sort of energy flow, with my type of energy trait, that are getting this feeling. And the more of us that feel it, and the more of us that harness it and embrace it, the more powerful it'll become. And once we get that energy that's powerful, it'll flow right round the world. And that's what it's about. If we unify, if we unite and come together, don't let them rip us to pieces. Don't let us argue with each other, different cultures, black v white, Muslim v Christians. Don't let them do it. We're all one race and it's human. And once everyone embraces the fact that we've got a powerful breed above us that's deliberately holding us down because we're the good breed. We're the good breed. We're the good people in this world. They're the bad. And that's what we're only just coming to recognise now. That's all part of the process. What everyone's going through in the world. Everyone's going through in the world. It's gone too far. It's gone too far.
What do you think about the way we interact now, the way we communicate? Because you're talking about unity. We spoke before we went live about communities, talking to your neighbours, you know, knowing who you live next door to.
It's all meant. They started with that. They started breaking down the communities by saturating, whatever. Dispersing families there. They use mad laws. Oh, you're antisocial family, get out of here. You've been there for 30 years. They bring laws into deliberately and they're not breaking no laws. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
They do it with everything now.
Yeah.
What was the question you asked there?
I want to know, I mentioned that before, we talked about like communities and the way that we're...
So how we communicate now.
And how we communicate now with social media.
Right, so let me tell you, right, so look, if I'm in a room with you and I'm talking to you and we're having an emotional conversation, we feel it.
Yeah.
You know, we're attached, energies transferring, we're coming united, we're coming together. You on it?
Yeah.
Over the phone, mate, you might be crying your fucking eyes out, and I wouldn't have a clue. It's all right, I'll see you later.
Yeah, you're depicting it in without any context.
There's no emotional connection from human to human no more, and that's what they've done on purpose. They want us like robots. They want us like machines. They don't want us interacting. When was the last time you and your good friend had a good fucking hug? I
try and keep that up. I do try and keep that up.
Do you understand what I mean?
Purposely,
but when was the last time? When was the last time you said to your friend, "I love you, babe"? Kiss, kiss.
Yeah.
Without the fucking phone.
Yeah.
When was the last time you said to your fiance, I proper love the bones of you? Without the... Do you understand what I mean? Or when have you ever grabbed your neighbour and went, now then, what's happening? Or your mate who you're texting 50 times a day? Have you ever sat down with him and hugged him and said, what's happening, bro? You're all right? Or are you just doing all this? That's what these do. Put a line between us connecting.
The fucking perspex screen that we've got
exactly
in the physical world.
Thing. It's all part of the process of keeping us disfranchised instead of together.
That's something I've picked up on massively in my life, and with my wife, with my siblings, with anybody I care about. I feel like I've felt that in my life. You know, family feuds, for instance. Yeah, something's happened and we've had a ding dong at a meal or something. Next thing is these long messages flying about, right? And you just said it. Someone could be crying when they sent it. I could be paranoid, I'm reading it wrong and he's coming at me from this angle, you know, and it sends me mad. And I take a screenshot and I send it to you and I said, what do you think to that? And then we're all making this context up of this fucking message that's been sent. And I got it at 3 o'clock this afternoon when I just come out of a shitty meeting with a doctor and just found out, you know, like, and then we're elaborating on it and building on it and turning it into, and that's happening fucking everywhere in everybody's phone. It's happening in WhatsApp, it's happening in Messenger, it's happening in text, it's happening in fucking all this code that we're, you know, people in Facebook are having back and forth for 80 comments deep about who's right, who's wrong, and we're demoralising our own. Just
absorbing bullshit.
Fucking mad.
Absorbing bullshit and poison.
I've been trying to say more and more and more, and I'm guilty of it. I still have to, because we're conditioned, you know. I need to get in touch with so-and-so. Text, you know, when the text kicked in, when text started kicking in them old phones, you know, I can remember I was an old boy, didn't fancy work on a Saturday. Sending a text was like, got you out of jail. I didn't have to speak to him. That, when I look back, that's what it was. It was like, I don't have to speak to him because I can hide behind this text and then fucking send it. And I've told him, then I can turn my phone off. That's where it sort of started for me, where I started to think, hang on, the way we're
The way you're communicating
Because
is
once upon
normal.
a time I'd have to speak to him and say, look, Darren, I feel like shit, man. I had too many last night. Fucking gives a break today, man. But now we don't have that. And, you know, maybe some of them times you'll say, yeah, you look like shit, get your son in bed. The other time you might say, get in the fucking van, we're going. And then I learn from...
But look, now, you can text me and I'm in my house looking like shit, depressed, fucked. You haven't got a clue. What's happening? Are you all right? Yeah, I'm fine, mate. You?
Yeah.
You just take that like it's fucking fantastic when really I'm in a fucking mess, mate. You're on it. But that happens with loads of people, and that's what these phones do. They're there to isolate you. You don't need no one now, you've got your phone. And they do. You see it more relevant now. You don't see it in us because we're mature a little bit, but you see it more relevant in kids now.
Yeah.
Exactly what the phone does.
Yeah.
It isolates you and fucks your head up. What do I mean by that? I've seen kids screaming their fucking head off, get given the phone is shut up.
Silence.
It's like that. That's just tracking devices, aren't they, lad?
But
you need one. They've made it to the point now. The powers have made it to the point where you can't function unless you've got a phone.
So when they set out to make a cool phone and it can do this, it can do that. Do you think in that initial idea, in that inception of that idea, that it's the dark side of that is not harnessed in that moment? Do you think that captures? You know, we see it later, like we look back and we go, oh, actually. Everybody puts their information in that. We can use that. When they set Facebook up, is everybody thinking, hang on a minute, we're going to get everybody's data, we'll have everybody's fucking clockwork movements, we'll be able to capitalise and monetise.
Look, when they created Facebook, it was created for that purpose. But we don't know.
Right.
We're just all, oh yeah, we can message.
But is that the case? Or is it, you know, because as
I
understand
it's
that,
developed into that.
Yeah, I feel like...
Right, so initially, before all these got into power... all these boss things that they tried to give us was probably for the good. And as time goes on, it's all becoming for the bad, isn't it? Like the dark web.
That's where I was getting at with the, you know, like with the movies even, you know, when whoever it is, you know, Ridley Scott comes up with his idea for the next fucking crazy futuristic film. That's the ideas he's taken from the films that he's seen, the directors he loves, the science he might read, you know, the projections of where he thinks things go in AI. He comes up with his dream work version of what he thinks the future might look like, you know, and then somehow that's what we end up doing. We end up, like, it's almost like what we manifest in those ideas is what we do.
So what you're trying to say is if they plant the seed and we water it, it'll manifest. But
what I'm saying is when I say they, I'm talking in that bigger picture as us, as like a human race, whether it's the good ones or the bad ones, as you said. As a collective, that is the human race of which we are all part of. And it seems like when...
All right, so the title human race was given to us.
Right.
We're not called the human race, really, are we?
Well, what is language at all in that case, then?
Well, that's what I'm saying, but we're called something else. Humans are known as something else properly, not human race. We're called something like sentinels or something crazy like that, aren't we?
Homo sapiens?
I don't know. What do you mean, Homo sapiens, mate?
Homo sapiens.
What the fuck's that?
Aidan, Homo sapiens is the version of Homo erectus, upright walking.
All the words you're chatting there just sound gay, mate.
No,
Homo erectus, Homo...
Yeah, well, these are the scientific, academic words. These are the words that we've been handed to.
Given.
Well, yeah.
But this is what I'm saying.
Highly intelligent primates.
Does it mean wise man? Homo sapien.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Is it
wise man? I think is.
Oh well. Anyway, I thought humans, but we're given the names. All these names that we're given for things, they've given us. You know, they've given us everything. They've given us the clock. Imagine us without a clock. Imagine we didn't know the time ever. Be great, wouldn't it? Why? Because you wouldn't have to stick to the clock. You wouldn't have to be there for 5 or be there for 9. They brought the clock in so they could say, you need to be there for 9, you need to be there for 5.
Right.
Do you understand what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Everything's given to us for a reason. It's not just like you say, it's created and developed, because it's not. If it comes from the life form, it's a creation of life, innit? But if you've got a man manipulating, do you understand what I mean?
I do understand what you mean, but I keep coming back to my how I always, and it's a complicated one to try and unravel. I always feel like the idea in the first place, the clock, I always feel like probably they've stumbled across it anyway from trying to work something else out. That seems to be what happens a lot. You know, we come up with these serendipitous kind of scientific breakthroughs when we're trying to work out how to do that, and then this happens. I always feel like it's us. It's like a bit like you mentioned the church. It's like in the beginning, religion is the story. It's the word, you know. Then the churches start getting built, you know. Then we start hoarding the gold, and, you know, it's like, I feel like the ideas, the inventions, the evolution in the beginning is meant to be of good intention.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. So what you're saying is
we kind of
all this
corrupt
stuff.
it.
Yeah,
you know, we start to kind of corrupt it, and we look at it, and then we go, there's an angle there, and we can fucking use that to cover this, or we can. Do you know what I mean? But I always battle with that. I just fucking, you know, when I keep saying they, I always think, well, who the fuck is it? Because they're just other people with eyes and noses and mouths and legs and arms and children and oxygen. But when you put it in the good and the bad bracket, it's like, I don't know. It's fucking difficult to. You've just got
to strip everything back to. What I do is strip everything back to basics. Mm-hmm. And what people normally do now, say, me and you have an argument, something goes on, someone else will get involved, say something, someone else will get involved, say something. All of a sudden, the argument that started is forgot. And we're concentrating on some other bullshit.
Yes.
And now we're concentrating on some other bullshit.
Yeah.
And then some other bullshit.
That's Facebook.
Right. So what I'm saying is, if you just strip it right back to the fucking basics, to my and your problem, it's not a fucking problem, really.
No.
It's all the bullshit that comes in after it that magnifies it and creates a bigger problem.
Yeah. Not even of the original issue.
Yeah, it just stems off to something.
It becomes tribal. And
it becomes,
right and you're wrong.
You start manifesting like you were saying, and then you start getting onto this way of fucking thinking, and then it manifests into some bullshit because it's poison and it's negative. It's the same. You can manifest negative thoughts as well as manifest positive thoughts, and that's entirely up to you. I'd encourage you to manifest positive thoughts. Why? Because you do have a positive life when you believe in positive things.
100%.
It's simple as that.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
If you carry on believing negative stuff, you're gonna end up. If you're a girl and you're overweight, you're over fucking weight. Love yourself. If you start thinking negative about it, you'll end up fucked.
But most of them girls are looking in a black mirror at all the fucking...
Yeah, and they're all looking at skinny, tiny, fish lip birds and fake fods and fake eyelids and fake...
Measuring themselves against that.
So, if you put... It's another prime example of what they're trying to do to us. They want us looking like fucking aliens or something, mate. They want us looking like fucking... If you look at all the girls that are getting this Botox and all that, the fods are going big, the fucking eyes are going out here, the lips are going out there. If you put that next to an old image of a fucking alien, they're not far from it, bro. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. But it's what they want. Now, if you've got I'm seeing 18-year-old girls get the fucking lips done and the mum's letting them. Yeah. Are you on it, mate? Yeah. And that's not the way to fucking be, lad, because you see them 13-year-old kids down there, by the time they're 15, they want fucking lips like a fish.
That's the generation thing again, isn't it?
Right, exactly. And you see all these girls that are in the pursuit of beauty. And they're pursuing this. They don't like the nose. I want a nose job. I want my lips done. I want Botox here. I'm too fat here. I want all this done and all this. Get a fucking grip and love yourself. Embrace who you are. Embrace everything about you. Don't start changing your nose because you think it's a little bent because that bird over there's made a shit comment on your nose. Find your security from within, and once you've got your security within your body, the security will come from outside. Internal attracts external. It's as simple as that. So if you start working on yourself, like he always say and he always promote, inner wealth creates external wealth. It is what it is. Concentrate on the life form. Don't fuck yourself up when you're 18 with some lips that are going to look like deflated dinghies when you're 40.
I can't help but think, again, when I think about the young people, when I think about your message, and, you know, I've got young kids, I'm trying my best to steer them into, and you said something there, strip it back to basics. We're trying to do that. You know, I'm really aware of everything you've just said. I've got a stepdaughter who's 20 years old, who's got friends who are 17, 18, who are pretty young girls, having their lips done, having this done, started a ball rolling that's crazy. Then you've got those 13-year-olds looking at them. You know, I'm really aware of that happening around us, and we're just trying really hard to just offer tangible, tactile, real, just simple experiences to the kids, an environment like that for the kids. When I think about what you're saying, you know, I think, like I said earlier, about the 14-year-old kid who's just going to go on the county lines because he's got no love and he's been bashed around the kitchen and he's just fucking lonely and fucked. I think about the kids on the social media, these girls who are probably from affluent families and, you know, maybe they are just desperate to look like the LA girls or whatever, you know. And by the way, most of these fucking perfect looking girls are miserable as fuck, you know, aren't they? Yeah. They're fucking down. They've got issues. They're all depressed.
Shit. They're all this. They're all that. There's all complexes going on. There's all insecurities going on.
How do we get kids, Darren?
You know how you get them?
How do we get them to get off of that though and stop measuring themselves against that?
Some kids are lucky to have parents. Some kids are lucky to have parents who've got addictions. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Some kids just haven't got parents.
Yeah.
And the parents they did have abused them physically and mentally. You understand what I mean? The bottom line is this. If you've got kids and you're not protecting them the way you should be, it's your own fault. If I'm sitting here and raising them issues about the way you're treating your kids, don't hate on me for it. Appreciate it. If I'm calling you a fucking rat for dealing drugs to that smackhead while your kid sat in the passenger seat, appreciate why I'm saying it. Don't say I'm just hating on drug dealers. I'm thinking about your future for your child. What the fuck is your child going to be doing at 15 if he's watching his dad sell drugs to smackheads? He's going to be selling drugs to smackheads. If not, taking them like the smackheads.
And probably with his foot a bit further down on the pedal, a little bit harsher.
It's same with girls. And you've got loads of these girls, the lovely girls, they've been coughed for by a drug dealer. He's got her pregnant, he's fucked her off. This single mum hates men because this drug dealing rat has fucking battered her, destroyed her and left her in the lurch with fuck all. She's growing up hating on men with her little daughter on her hip. This little daughter's growing up hating men. And what you're seeing now is birds, young girls, battering lads. Right round Liverpool, mate. You'll get a bird who'll punch fuck out of a lad. And it's happening more and more and more. That's because all the single parents with young daughters who are hating on men, the kids are growing up with the same sort of mentality towards men.
Of course, yeah.
You know it?
Yeah.
And it's the same with boys. You know, if you get... Whether you like it or not, if you've got 4 sisters and a boy, he's gay. He ends up feminine and gay when he's older.
The environment.
Yeah, it's all back down to the environment, innit? You haven't got to be a rocket scientist to know. If you bring your kid up in a 5-mile radius with another 100 kids and they're smashing cars and the da-da-da and the da-da-da-da, he's going to start smashing cars and da-da-da-da-da. If you bring your kid up in a 5-mile radius with kids who are playing football and fucking building snowmen or whatever, he's going to do what they do, right? So for us as a city of Liverpool or Lincoln or whatever, there's enough of us to create an environment of peace and tranquility for our kids. Well, a fucking enough of us. There's enough millionaires in the city of Liverpool to go, all right, then let's buy 3 schools and start getting our own school system going, because it can be done. They can't stop you. They've brought laws in so you control your own schools. You're on it. That's the way forward now. In 10 years' time, it's going to be segregated like that. You're going to have cities like Liverpool establishing their own schools, establishing their own community centres for their own kids, where no other kids are getting in, where no other cultures are getting in. Why? Because our kids are getting harassed and attacked by every breed, every level. If I had kids and I had the money, they wouldn't go out the door unless they were with me. They wouldn't be schooled in the education system. They'd be schooled in my front kitchen if I could do it.
Where would you be if you were to have children? Where would you be? Where would you position yourself in an environment with that in mind? If you were going to have kids, would you want to retain?
If I had kids, look, I'm skint. I'm a poor man, and I'd rather raise my kids in a poor household than a rich one.
Yeah.
And I don't. People might look at me. Whoa. I'd rather have my kid getting up with the shittest pair of shoes on instead of getting up and putting a £500 pair of shoes on his feet. That's just the way I am.
But for me, the telling point there is that if you're getting a cuddle off your dad, if your dad's getting you out of bed and asking you what did you dream about last night, and you put your hole in your trainers with holes on, and that's the world of difference. Because you can be putting a £500 pair of trainers on, but your dad don't fucking look at you. The maid sorts you out. That's just, that seems to be damaging.
Look, you see children, the innocent and the pure, and they're brought into a world and they'll adapt to it. That's why you see African kids smiling the fucking life. They're smiling, they're joyful, they're full of joy, they're full of things. And why are they like that? Because they got no materialism running through the body. They don't miss a pair of trainees. They don't miss all this boss luxuries that the Western world have got and deprived them of. The kids over there are more happy than the kids here, and they've got nothing. Do you understand what I mean?
I've seen it with my own eyes. Yeah.
The best way to bring your kid up is to bring them up poor, well-fed, well-slept. Yeah. Don't bring them up with some mad imagination that everything's money, that everything lives on money and life's money. Everything's money. Because he's going to start chasing money, and once you start chasing money, you become evil.
And what you said there as well, for me, you're talking, I kind of think of two currencies all the time. Whenever I'm making any decisions about money, about life, like there's money, but there's time. And ironically, your time you use to get the money. But for me, I try and look at it as how much money do I need to get all the time that I need with my kids. Do you know what I mean? Like, do I need to be off down London for 6 weeks to earn an extra 800 quid over a month? Or do I want to read a book to my kid at night, at bedtime? So when he's 13, we're bonded.
That's what it's about. That's what's happening now is your households, some family households, the mum and dad are working 2 jobs each just to keep the house running.
Just to pay the bills.
Right. Just to pay the bills that they're generating. Now, they're working off the feet to pay the bills that they're generating. These are generating these bills. They're not giving the kids all the time because they're working to pay the bills that they're generating. What do I mean by they're generating? Instead of just getting Wi-Fi, you're going and spending 70 quid on a full package that you're not watching.
Yeah.
Instead of going down there and spending 200 quid on top-notch eggs and cereals, go there and spend a wanna. All this can be done, but you've got that materialistic flow and that brand flow and this. I'm not buying my kid that 20 quid jacket that's just exactly the same as that 500 quid jacket because he hasn't got a badge and he'll get skittered to school. It's all materialistic bullshit. And once people realise that
time,
a £12 t-shirt will look just as good on you as a £50 t-shirt would, everywhere to be a better place.
I agree. 100%, I agree. Yeah, the time and the value of things. You
can't replace time. You can replace a jacket.
Yeah, you
can't replace a life. You cannot replace a life. Well, you can't replace your energy. You can't replace things you've lost. You can't redo things that are snapped. You can't change the past. There's loads of things you can't do. You can't do this, you can't do that. But there's loads of things you can do, so you don't have to approach the can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in my life, everything I was doing, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You know what I mean? And it fucked me. Why? Because I weren't listening. There was people telling me, why don't you just do it that way? Why don't you just do it that way? And I weren't fucking listening, and it destroyed me. There's loads of can'ts in your life, but there's loads of cans in your life. And where there's a can't, there's a can. It's just about choosing What one you want?
Choose a life, not a knife.
Basically, it all comes right across the same thing.
It does, because I've heard you say that before. You know, it's
an umbrella.
Yeah.
You know,
because
I'm here. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about. Like, I'm still going to get back onto the subject of the youth and the kids and how important they are to our future and every city and the country. It is what it is. Choose a life, not a knife. I scream it. Why? Because I was this close from cutting my wrists and it saved my life. So I know that can give you, him or her, that little 30 seconds to think. If you're in a rage, if you plan choose a life, not a knife in your head, just one shout, it'll give you the minute or the 30 seconds to just stop, think about what the fuck you're going to do next. Because without that little 30 second think, you can destroy someone's life and your own like that. So it's nice to just have something to fall back on and give you that little moment of, hang on, bam, 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 choose a life, not the knife. It makes you think, it opens up.
I like the way you put that there, because in those moments when we do...
When you're starting to lose
unhinged.
it, when you start, you get this little moment where you can let something in to stop you. Choose a life, not a knife. It just penetrates because it goes, choose life, not knife. It's just like, it slips in and it gives you that.
And you fucking know what it means as well.
Exactly.
It means literally choose your life. Choose the difficult thing to do, which is try and not get caught in the tidal wave of the culture of your mates of the area, you know. And
it's hard, mate.
It is, and you've alluded to it several times. It's about unity. It's like if Danny does it and if Ricky does it, you know, and if we notice and we feel a change and you get that belief come to you.
Because what you get in these gangs, mate, is when I was saying before, the governments and the police and social service, they deliberately break, whether they admit it or not, they deliberately break families down. And within these families, you've got young lads. And when these go in and break this family down, the little bit of love that these lads were getting from that little broken family, it's gone completely now because it's being completely ripped to pieces. So these lads end up on the street, and the only unifying, unity, embraceful thing that they're feeling is from the mates on the corner, and that unity becomes stronger. Now you see these gangs round the estates, and everyone's ripping into them. I rip them sometimes. You're behaving like rats. Why are you moving like rats? Why are you attacking old women? Why are you doing this? That's why I rip into them. I fully appreciate why they're in that gang. I fully appreciate why they're acting the way they're acting. What I don't appreciate is why you're targeting kids, why you're targeting old women, why you're going to your neighbour's door. Why, that's what I can't. But the bottom line is, you see the unity that gangs got. Liverpool need more of it. Not just with the gangs or the kids. Liverpool needs it as a whole. The unity the gangs have got, you need to be looking at them and thinking, well, why in this city that's so ripped to fucking pieces are these gangs so tight? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're so tight.
Well, it means more to them, doesn't it? Clearly,
it's unity.
It means more.
It's that being part of a family.
Because your back's against
that the
wall.
government broke.
Yeah, against a wider, you know, you're unified in the face of what seems
adversity.
Fucking.
You're better when you're unified. It's as simple as that. And I think the people up and down this country know where I'm coming from when I'm saying this shit.
And do you feel like, Darren, with this COVID thing, if there is, you know, a pandemic, they're calling it, an epidemic, whatever the fuck, it's affected culture. People have lost jobs. People have had to stay at home. People have had the chance to slow down, look at their lives. If there's ever a kind of a scenario, an opportunity for us to actually think, hang on a minute, you know, when the call comes and it's you're having a vaccine, and if you don't have a vaccine, if you don't, you know, apply for your health passport, you won't be able to go on holiday with your family. Those kinds of things start happening. 'Cause for me personally,
they're already happening.
So we have to unite. This is what I'm saying. Surely this is a point in time where that unity, where we have to look across and say,
look, you know, if we were in a different dimension and we were in a different era and we were being what we're designed to be, not conditioned to the way we are now, I'd be sitting here now giving a war cry call out.
Well, you are, I think. in
I'll
many
be giving a
ways.
war cry call out and saying, look, what the fuck is going on here? Are we going to stand back and let this shit happen? Have you seen the tragedies that they've covered over? Have you seen Have you seen what they have been doing to us for the past 40, 50 years? That's what I'd be doing now. But they've got the situation where I could do a war cry call. There'll be 1,000 people wanting to do it, but only 4 of them will do it. Because I've got too much to lose, because I won't have my car, or I
You mentioned it earlier, yeah, that comfort, I think.
It's what they've done.
Where's the tipping point though? Where is that tipping point where...
The tipping point is coming. The tipping point's here. It's been coming for time. It's the awakening. We've been getting lied to since we were children. And when people are lied to, they're not fucking happy. And when you've been lied to for so fucking long, it hurts you worse and your reaction's worse. They know it. And whatever's coming, I'm ready for it. I was in custody when the last uprising happened. Perhaps it shouldn't have happened, but perhaps it should. But that was a model of what was coming in 10 years' time. And here we are now.
What are you referring to there?
The riots.
The riots, yeah.
There was a reason that happened. And here we are now, and it's going to be happening again. But this time, what's happened? Everyone's awoke, and everyone's singing from the same fucking hymn sheet. These are all nonsense. People like me, people in the city of Liverpool that have never had the chance to own a fucking £1 million house, we're the good people. Yeah, we might be committing crime. We might be ending up in jail. We might be doing all the fucking madness. But you know what, the beginning, we're the good people. We're made bad. We're made into this way. Why? Because we're given an environment on purpose. And that environment, for us, on our level, is to destroy us. And to keep their cogs moving. If you look at an ant's nest, you sit down and look at an ant's nest. All you see is loads of ants. Some are working in groups there, some potting off, but they're all working for the queen. And they're all their life, they're working for that queen. The way we're looking at them, we've got someone looking at us, calling us exactly the fucking same as them. Like an ant's nest. We're all working in groups, but we're all working for the one thing. Only now, what's coming out is this one thing that we've been getting controlled by, told what to do by, is turning out to be a fucking devil.
I think we're at a real precipice with this Epstein thing, because if Trump's America do bring Prince Andrew across,
They're going to.
It seems like whether he's guilty of anything or not,
Look,
the profile of that case is...
You've had the Queen jump ship from Buckingham Palace. She's not going back there. You've had Harry and the other bird left the royal family last month. They fucked off to America. It is what it is. They're all nonsense. Prince Andrew's wife, Fergie, she knew exactly what he's been up to. Knew it. They all know what's going on. They're all panicking. They all know Trump will not give a shit. He's going to expose the fucking lot. They've been able to keep it quiet through Obama and all them presidents that kept Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Bush. They've been able to keep a nose on it. Trump's got in, he's lifted the lid off it, and it's too fast now. It can't stop. It's all going to come out. And I predict the next president to be shot dead will be Trump.
You heard it here first.
He's the next president to go down in history as assassinated. Why? Because he's doing the honest thing like Reagan. He's doing the honest thing like JFK did. The only reason they got put to bed was the same reason Malcolm X got put to bed. It was the same reason John Lennon got put to bed. It's the same reason all these superstars that you're hearing getting put to bed. They were about to expose this bullshit. And eventually we've got someone who doesn't give a shit. He's pure American. I relate to America. I don't give a shit. Trump is the saviour of the world at the moment. If everything that's coming out about what Trump's doing towards protecting these children, he is the saviour of the world, and he's bringing the awakening that this globe needs, and I'm embracing it.
By uncovering the establishment, the elite.
He's not scared. like JFK wants. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. My opinion is he's gonna sink the fucking lot of them.
If
he doesn't get shot dead. If he gets shot dead, one of them will get back into power. It'll be hushed up, and we'll just be demonised and dictated to even worse.
Between COVID and, you know, things like this Epstein case, the Black Lives Matter movements, you know, it feels like, yeah, that thing that you're explaining, that energy, there's something brewing. There's something that is, you know, there's unrest in the air. It's uneasy, and I can't help but think, having listened to you tonight, and you're somebody who's been in the system since you were a fucking small boy, you know, seen it from the inside out, especially this country. And I can't see how somebody like you, you know, sending a message that you're sending, choose life, not a knife, turning your back on a world that you were born into, beaten into. You know, this society more than ever, in the face of all this adversity, we need to celebrate that. We need to celebrate people who are prepared to redeem themselves in the face of fucking just terror, trauma, imprinted deep trauma, you know, recognise it and push out good energy, positive energy, try and help people turn the corner. COVID and all this mad shit happening, there is something in the air. We're all aware that fucking things are on the edge. And I fucking credit you for speaking so passionately and openly and fucking putting it on the line, because we need to hear it. We need to hear it. We need more of it. And so many of us, I think, feel it. And you mentioned it. 100 people, 4 of them will say something. Because
that's what I'm saying. Look, the bottom line is this. Look, this country, it's a mess. Any true, how can I put it, Irishman, Englishman, Scottishman, Welshman, they know our country is fucked. We're overrun with foreigners. Some should be here, some shouldn't. I'm a racist, no, I'm a fuck. I've got my eyes wide open. Our country is fucked. The schools are fucked, the hospitals are fucked, the public transport's fucked, prison system's full. You've got kids hanging themselves, you've got men getting raped, you've got women getting raped, you've got kids getting raped. How more bullshit have we got to take off them cunts before we all stand up to the mark and stand our fucking ground and let them know what time it is? Because we're in the 21st century and we're still getting treated like we're in the 80s. Things have fucking changed. The government is not as powerful as what it used to be. And they fucking know it. And they're doing dirty tricks to stay in power. Leave them in power and look what happens to us over the next 50 years. We need a whole new reshuffle. We need a whole new shebang. All them corrupt motherfuckers that's been spending our money for years on vibrators and fucking toy boys, they need killing. They need bringing out of office. They need moving on. We need a new power base, a new firm of good shoes, a new firm of good people coming through the system and getting into power, because at the moment it's saturated by poison and Satan. And
the only way that anything with that kind of momentum, any structure, any fucking lineage of years upon years upon years of building, networking, has to implode, doesn't it? It has to break in a. It
just needs one. It just needs one thing to make it pop, and Trump's done it, and it's popped. And the true evidence and the true facts is not out here yet, but it's going to be, because trust that Trump will make sure it is. You know it? It's here. The whole world's going to be uprising soon, because everyone in power, they're evil. The evil have been in power for 40 years and they've been damaging us with good people. They've been putting us in environments where we just end up like them, worse than them, in worse conditions than them, where everything right across the board, it's all worse. They don't suffer. If they fuck up, it's all our money that gets took out the banks, not theirs.
Yeah.
All our food gets took, not theirs. All our kids sitting in jails, not theirs. Any of their kids fuck up and rape someone and all that, they get acquitted. It is how it is. It's a corrupt, fucked up government, and they need moving out.
If this Epstein thing goes the way it looks like it's going to go, I mean, that's another kind of cultural meme. People peripherally kind of, that whole Epstein's dead, he's not dead thing. That's on Joe Blogg's public's sphere. They're listening to this story of this guy who's procuring children.
Right, but not everyone. Not everyone's getting access to that information about this man. The whole country's not aware of this. If they was, would be in an uprising. Nah, they fuck.
See, I'm out of touch with it. I don't watch the telly. I don't read the papers.
There's loads of people still in the dark about what's going on. There's loads of people still going into shops in this country buying Disney toys and giving them to the kids. There's still loads of people buying shit that's related to this non-shit that if they knew, they would not be buying it.
Right.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
There's loads of people in the dark about this in this country, and if they wasn't in the dark and they knew the true facts, we'd already be there. It'd already be going off.
That's what I guess I'm getting at with Epstein. I guess if there is a narrative, if there is a story, if there is something that's getting to, a broader population, it seems to be that case. And the fact that there's a British monarch involved in the case, whether he's guilty of anything or not, it feels like this is the most serious, as you're saying, that turning, that if this is it,
he's guilty.
Surely that establishment, those people that have, because it's not just them who get penalised for doing wrongdoing, it's the people who've protected them, as you said, all the way, the judges, the people within the vicinity, the structures all the way up.
It goes to the top.
Everything has to fall.
It goes to the top, lad.
That's then we rebuild.
This is why it's gonna fucking go off it.
And in the meantime, we need to keep the young people safe. We need to keep the young people unified. We need to keep them positive. We need to keep them engaged. We need to get them outside. We need to get them off the phones.
Because look, as far as I'm concerned, it's the young people that are going to rebel the best. It's the young people that are going to rebel and have a shout right. And they know that. And that's why they're damaging the young. So we can never rebel. So you can never get someone passionate like me who's shouting the right shit. You're on it. You won't get it because they're already damaging them. They're already educating them so they're fucked in a mad way. They're already educating them so they don't procreate. Then they don't want them to procreate our kind. You want it? They're turning generations into homosexuals and lesbians. They're doing it on purpose.
Well, we've now got, it's to be genderless is like a thing. That is a thing that we take on board.
That's what they want. That's why they want.
That's mental to think.
We're in a world where you can put a fucking fanny on you and cut your dick off.
Yeah.
That's the world we're in.
Or I can say I'm neither. I can not declare myself as either. I can be.
But what I'm trying to the point I'm trying to make to you is you can be a man now and in a fucking month be a fully fledged woman.
Yeah.
That's fucking with life. You don't fuck with life. When you start fucking with life, he's not happy. Simple as that. We're fucking with life like we're devils. We're not. They are. They're giving us the shit to fuck with life. They're experiment. How many girls you seen with fods like fucking that and eyes like that and lips like them? You're seeing thousands of them now. It's what they
all
want.
Look the same. They're starting to look like a specific breed of people.
There's no individuality no more.
They look
reptilian.
Can you remember? It used to be like old Hollywood ladies, let's call them, that used to have that look. When they're fucking 90 and they got the face strapped back. It's like young girls,
like Rambo's mum, innit?
Yeah,
Jackie
still. Yeah, it's like young girls are starting. That look it's not as severe as that, but it's going there, isn't it? And if you're 18 when you're starting to
look, if you're not even fully developed at 18, mate, your skin hasn't even fucking elasticated properly and all that bullshit. Your fucking collagen or whatever they call it.
Yeah,
you're not fully developed. If you go out and put lips on you at 18 like that, they're gonna go down. By the time you're 20, 21, you need more.
Yeah.
Down. By the time you're 40, you're gonna look like Pete Burns.
Fucked.
You'll be fucked. You'll be fucked. You won't have a fella that loves you. You'll have a fella that wants you for your lips to just pay on his penis. You're on it. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You need to start embracing your natural beauty. All you 13, 14, 15-year-old girls, you all know you're going to be lovely when you grow older. You just fucking know it. Look in the mirror at yourselves. What, you got glasses on? Fuck that. You look nice with glasses on these days. What I'm trying to say to you is, embrace your natural beauty. You're an individual. Why do you want to be like that? Fake hair, fake lips, fake tits. Bleh. Real men like natural people.
Because it says more about what's going on in here anyway, Darren, doesn't it? You know, you might look like that. We touched on it with those LA girls who these girls are measuring themselves against. Them LA girls ain't happy. You know, a lot of them, let's say. Because when you have got to change your face, you've got to change everything. You might look perfect, symmetrical, it's all there. But there's something missing. There's something missing. All that brain power, all that capacity that's spent trying to work out how will I be. I'll look like this. I'll look like her. I'll have that bit. I'll have my hair. You know, just you're not in your skin.
Yeah,
you're not in your skin.
You're
being
not being
you,
natural.
embracing yourself.
You're not being natural.
Having relationships, getting to know people.
I hear people like girls who had the lips done and fucking fat and all that, calling girls who haven't had the lips done and look a little bit scruffy, ugly fuckers.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them thinking, I'd rather be with you, natural, just like a home girl, just a real girl, instead of you that's caught up in all this plastic shit. Because that's what it is. You're saying this genuine bird's ugly and fucking nasty because she hasn't had the lips done and Botox and all this, but look the fucking state of you. You're fake as fuck.
And what's the mindset, you know, when those girls go on to have their babies, you know, or maybe even before the baby, you know, the girl with all the gear,
this is what I'm saying.
She picks a fella, yeah? What's she picking him on? She's not picking him on, probably not, you know, and broadly speaking here, obviously I'm not tarnishing every girl who's ever had lips done. But what I mean is when we chase vanity so individually like that, we seek it in others. So then you got the boy and the girl who are both, you know, all
vain.
About themselves, vain, not really into each other. A lot of the time they're up to all sorts because they're getting the likes, they're getting their inboxes, they're getting all the attention. You know, they end up having a kid, 20-year-old, couple of years
more
in.
to the point though, when you were saying, see a girl, right? See when a mum has a baby, the baby looks at the mum, right? A girl with all that shit done has a baby and the kid looks out and looks at the mum. They're not seeing the mum.
Yeah.
They're not seeing the maternal mum. They're seeing some fucking weird thing. You're on it. No one knows what that effect's going to have on this kid. Does that kid just... I don't know, it might be going off Andy, but does that kid naturally start developing them looks?
I know.
Do you
what
understand
you mean.
what I mean?
I know what you mean. And
you know when you've got kids and the kid looks, oh, he's spit at your dad, or he's spit at your mum. Is that come through the brother looks, or is it because he's looking at you all the time and you just develop that?
It's probably some of all of that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So all these kids, all these girls that look like fucking aliens now, they have a kid and all of a sudden their kid's looking out. Will that kid just grow into some mad... His features like the mum's?
Who knows?
Well, we don't know. But that might be the purpose of all this shit happening. There's a reason why it's quite legit to bang fucking these oils in your skin. You
touched on something earlier when you were speaking about mothers and newborns, and you said it eloquently. And my wife, who's a doula, she'll really connect with that. You know, you said about babies born, straight onto the chest, drops on the chest. That's when your energy is created between the mum and the son or the daughter. Yeah, and this is another thing in society which I think it works everywhere. It lines up with everything we've said about consumering and power and control and momentum, and you know that breast milk. And it's not just that breast milk is this amazing fucking juice that is just tailor-made for this specific baby, that's got all the nutrients and will fix the baby. And but look, it is. Yeah, oh, totally. But what also is happening is, which is what I like that you mentioned, is it's that skin to skin, it's that bond, it's that oxytocin exchange. It's the flow of energy. It's the flow, always together. You know, when you go to the zoo, you see the little monkeys and they're just strapped to the bum. Exactly the same and process. That's missing now, because what comes with that vanity when you've got your lips done, when you've got your new, and all you're concerned about is, you know, was he looking at me? Did I walk right? Where's my shoes? And little Tommy needs, you know, feeding. But some women can't even put the kids on the breast now because they've got fake tits. Yeah. You're on it. Some girls won't even kiss the boyfriend now because of the fake lips. You're on it. So it's just fucked, mate. It's messy. But when I get back to your child's born, he comes out the womb. These days, on some mums, it's coming out the womb and taken, and they never see it again. Straight into the hands of the social services and gone. This has been happening for decades, not just one or two women, loads of women. And they get away with it. Why? Because it's law. Why? Because the law brought the law in. And what's the kind of circumstance for that to happen? when you got vulnerable young mums?
You've got a drug addiction.
Yeah.
As simple as that. You've got a crack addiction. You can take your kid off of you at birth. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how nasty it fucking is. Now, I said this to someone the other day and he didn't really believe me. Your bird can have a kid. Your woman can have a child. But if that child's placed into the hands of another woman, the child will bond with that woman. Exactly the same as it would with that woman. Do you understand that?
Yeah, there's definitely bonds can be made, yeah, 100%.
Time
spent.
You know when that baby's come out, it's got this mad thing, it's pure energy, right? The first thing that attaches to...
Imprinting, yeah.
That's it. That's the bond. And then you work on it, innit? So, if my girl has a baby, I take her out of her and it goes straight to this other woman. They've got the bond there. They've got the bond. It can happen with any child. Any child. So if your daughter's fucked, addicted to crack, and she's having a pregnant, go and be that bond that the child needs. Don't let it be a social service fucking nasty piece of shit. Step into the fold, sister, auntie, cousin. You'll get the same bond off the child. Keep it in the family. Don't let the rats get their hands on the... You understand what I mean?
Yeah, totally, yeah. Time spent again. You mentioned it earlier when you talked about, with your mum and how you felt, like that bond with a mother. When it's... When a mother...
Ask any man about the bond with the mum. Even if your ma batters the fucking life out of you, you've still got this thing for your mum. She might have tortured you, she might have done this. You've always got this thing for your mum. You can replace your dad. Not many men like it, don't like that. You can replace your dad 1,000 times, you'll never replace your mum. Ever. No woman can fill your mum's shoes the way a man can fill your dad's. Simple as that. You need to harness the power of the woman. You need to harness the power of your mum, the power of your daughter, the power of your nan, the power of your girlfriend. You need to respect them and protect them. Why? They're the real creators of life. Fuck the creator of life up there. In my eyes, it's the woman who's the creator of life. Why? I'm here because of a woman. You're here because... All men are on this planet because a woman gave them the chance of life. It's as simple as that. You haven't got to be blind to understand how powerful the woman is.
And we need to respect that, don't we?
Well, I'm promoting it massively. Why? Because I believe the future's woman.
Right.
The future's woman.
And is that in a sense of...
I think that
energy or what?
Yeah.
Are we going to soften ourselves a bit and realise that nurture and compassion, empathy?
No, men haven't softened themselves. You've got a few men that appreciate what's going on, but men for hundreds of years have stamped all over women, knowing the power they've got. They've deliberately held them down. What you're noticing now in the last 15 years is women standing up for themselves, women starting to form groups, women starting to get into political power, women starting to do this, women starting to do that, women and to be quite fucking honest, mate, the world needs women. What do women give you? They give you that nurture and that care and that love that men don't do, that men can do, but won't provide if they don't have to. A woman has got that natural instinct of nurturing.
Yeah.
And this is what the world needs at the moment, because every kid in this world needs mother figures. They need a Mother Mary. This is what it's about.
We need that more than ever. Balance. We need the balance. If we can, I don't know what it is. I don't know if we've got to fucking work out this vaccine thing, and that's going to be the thing that sends us over, or as you mentioned, that the establishment coming down in the face of all of this crazy paedophilia and corruption and just, but families, recognising one another, staying together, supporting one another, trying to fucking...
Unity.
Yeah, and trying to get our kids away from the idea that this world that exists in this Black Mirror, in this phone, is the world that they want to participate in, because it's not. We've got to get outside together. We've got to be together. We've got to try and recognise that the speed of life, this digital fucking communication, these messages, everything's too much. It's too much. And what's right in front of your face is what we must have: feeling, support. And if we can get young people to understand that, you know, before you go diving into that relationship willy-nilly, you know, and you're up the duff, you're having a baby, you're 17, you know, and lads just fucking turn on their heels and, fuck it, no, nothing to do with me. And as you pointed out earlier, girl's got the baby on her hip, she's resentful of men, she's resentful of her position, she can't do nothing. That's a fucking shitty start. We've got to try and turn the culture away from those values somehow. I've got no fucking clue how. Those phones, the speed, everybody in competition, the fucking money that's made, that's what's worrying for me. I don't know how we turn that corner, but people like you who are out there.
What's happening? We're in a day and age where everyone promotes. Everyone's promoting each other, everyone's promoting that, everyone's promoting this, everyone's promoting that, and if no one's demoting. Everyone says it's shit, but no one's really demoting shit. Like, these phones will give you mental health. They give you mental health problems.
Fucking 100%. It's measured science now at this point. Yeah.
Right. These give you mental health problems without a fact, and that's why you've got hundreds of kids with mental health problems all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And that's why you've got loads of kids with depression. It's because these things give you mental health problems. So I'm going to demote this now and tell the parents, take your smartphone off your kid for a month and look at the change.
Yeah. And it also means, as you said again earlier, give Billy the phone and you can carry on doing what you're doing, because it's the responsibility is with the parents.
Stop replacing real time and care and emotions on shit. Stop sending your kid over there in the corner with this because you're having a cup of tea with your fucking mate. Stop doing this because you want to go out on the weekend. Stop leaving your kid over there because you want to go and spend your money.
Be there. Be there with them.
Keep your kid. If you're having a brand new baby, don't put him in a pram. Don't put him in a pram. Keep him on your hip. So what, your bones will hurt, your things will hurt. You're crying about the fucking weight on your body. You have a baby, you put the baby on your body, walk around everywhere you go with the baby. You'll be skinny as fucking 6 months. That's the way it works.
Bonded.
Right.
Unified.
Think about what you're doing. You're carrying him, you're feeding him, you're feeding him, bam. That's where your weight's coming from. When he comes out, you carry him. He'll take the weight right back off you. That's the process.
Yeah.
That's where you're meant to do it. Put him on your hip. Strap him around your chest if you can't carry him. You see Africans doing it.
Yeah.
You see other cultures doing it. Do the same thing. Why? Because that strengthens the bond between child and mother, and it's the only thing that strengthens it. You've got a bond from arm's length, but it'll never be as powerful or as strong as the one that's up close and personal. Ever.
Agreed. Well, listen, this has been a powerful conversation, and I'm really grateful for your time, your insight. You know, you've incited some serious issues there and have enlightened me on a lot of things, and I'm sure people watching and listening, you know, will delve in, and I will link in James English podcast and Sean Atwood's podcast.
Well, you don't have to, mate. We're here for you.
No, totally. But what I'd like is for people who've you know learned what they've learned with your perspective, you know, because you've got you've got a story and you've got a lot of interesting things and perspective to share, and yeah, we're really grateful. Thank you, Darren. Where do we send people to find you?
Well, I've got Instagram, choosealifenotaknife.uk. I've got a new YouTube. I can give you the links if you want to put them down for me in a bit. That's it, basically. Before we finish off, I'd just like to say I get myself in a lot of verbal altercations with rats of the city, and there's a purpose and there's a reason for why I do this. It's not provoking. It's not instigating any shit. It's not spreading the poison or whatever. Everything I'm doing is to encourage positivity in the city of Liverpool. It's to encourage the youth to stay away from materialistic, iconic people all over the city, basically. It's choosing your life. If you're ever in a situation where you're about to have a fight or you're about to pull a weapon out, just have a little think about choosing your life. If if you're feeling suicidal and you're over there, have a little think of Choose a Life. Just have a little think. If you want to go a bit deeper, delve into my story. As you said, the podcast today.
Yeah.
Realise where Choose a Life, not a Knife came from. It's organic. It's not a government. It's no one trying to manipulate the masses. It's straight organic message, and it works and it helps the youth, and it's helping them all over the place. All my efforts are going towards that. That's all I have to say to you is Choose a Life, not a knife.
Well, listen, and it's sincere, because somebody who's turned a corner in their own life, who's been through what you've been through, and has got the courage, you know, to stand up and say, you know what, I've fucked up, I've made some mistakes, but this system that I'm in, I'm trying to operate in, I did the best I could, and I can see it, I'm looking at it, and I'm prepared to take it on the chin, and I'm moving in this direction, and I want to help as best I can to guide other people with my experience. They say the wounded make the finest healers.
Exactly.
Thank you, Darren Gee.
Thank you, mate.
Peace.
Peace, man.